Whenever I have to deal with the concept of just talking about generators, I go back to the very beginning of my process, and it's something I've repeated over and over again, but I think that it requires repeating to all generators. See, when I was given the knowledge, it seemed to me that all I had to do was find a generator that was willing to experiment with response, and the world would change. I mean, that's simple. And I thought, gee, it's not going to be a difficult thing. It's going to be a really easy thing, right? I mean, there's nothing easier than the concept of, look, the only way you make a decision is you make a decision in response. I mean, it seems simple. And I thought, wow, this is really incredible. 2/3 of humanity are generators. Our world is messed up because 2/3 of humanity are generators. That they're all trying to be manifestors, that they're all deeply frustrated. And I thought, wow, wouldn't that be something? Just like that, they can change their lives. So I started. In a way, I was very unfair to everybody else. I paid very little attention to manifestors or projectors or reflectors. I figured if something new like this knowledge was going to take seed in the world, that the only way that I was going to be able to do that was by the reality of it working. Not because people liked what I said, but because it actually worked. And it's so easy within the context of generator, theoretically, to get that incredible instant gratification of it works. Because the generator is a perfect instrument. I mean, not all of you are generators here. Most of you are. To really understand what kind of a gift you have been given and what you have turned your back on. Because it's an incredible gift. This life is full of nothing but pain and suffering. This life is full of people who spend their entire lives struggling on the material plane. They don't have time for anything. They don't have time to love themselves. They don't have time to love others. They don't have time to really see what this life is all about because they can't. Because they're up here in the box. They're making up their mind about what their life is going to be up here in the box. And when a generator dreams, they dream manifestor dreams. I know what it is to be a manifester. You can dream you're one, but if you're a generator, boy, you ever going to suffer the consequences for that. Because you see, the gods gave you the best deal, and they will slap you harder than they slap anybody else. Because they made it perfect for you, easy for you. The vanity. See, I can't stand vanity. The vanity that human beings think they're in charge of anything. They think that their little minds can run their lives. These minds that are nothing but an assortment of cliches that they've borrowed for generations. Have nothing to do with who they are as a being. Your mind doesn't know if you're a generator or anything else, what is correct for you? See, my program this week is to go to the positive. You know, be nice, Ra, okay? The signature of a generator. It's called satisfaction. Every generator, the moment they come into the world, this is the only thing they need. It is the only thing they want. And it is the one thing they do not understand at all. Because they think it's a concept. See, they dream of being manifestors. Oh, I'll be so satisfied if I have this. I'm only going to be satisfied when I have that. I'm only frustrated because I don't have that or this or the other thing. And so I'm going to put my attention on it. I'm going to go get it. And the gods come and smack you right in the face. the holy ones who act like fools. Because you see, in the context of what holy means, only generators are truly holy. The rest of us are here for the ride. And we ride on the generator back. And I don't like riding this frustrating horse, I must say. And that's all you get. And you see, life is so perfect. It's so simple. I mean, the generator is everything you've ever read about in any mystical whatever that you've ever come across. You know? Surrendered to the beauty of life, to the forces. You know, the magic of a generator is when you do not know what you will ever say yes or no to. When you have no preconceived notion that it should be this or it should be that. I remember those lovely questions from generators when they would say to me, but what if, what if somebody asks me to go into the slave trade with them? What if somebody asks me to go to the Antarctic and live off whale blubber? And I go, uh-huh. What then? Go. You may really get into whale blubber and maybe your whole story. You don't know. You don't know. See, manifestors don't care about themselves. Projectors are only interested in why other people are so stupid. Reflectors wish they could be here all alone because at least it would be peaceful. Generators? The sign over Delphi, it said, generators only. Okay? I mean, the manifestors got pissed and wiped it away, but generators only. You come up there and the oracle looks at you and you say you're a projector and they say, no, not here. This is not your place. This is only for generators. Only generators are here to know themselves. Which means if they don't, are they ever in trouble? And who do you think they know? They don't know who they are. They know they're not self. They know all the things they're not. This is their trip. They think they know themselves. They don't. Their mind runs their life. Their mind is ruled by their not self. A generator with an open ego isn't going to know themselves. They've already decided that they are unworthy. They're spending their whole life trying to prove to others that they're a good person, a nice person, a smart person. They become those wonderful slaves. Oh, it's so easy to make a generator a slave. Wow. Just tell them to be like a manifestor. And then they'll tap into their not self. See, the thing that scares me is that human beings think they know their purpose. That is, their purpose is rooted in their not self. You come into the world with an open ego. All you ever want to do as a purpose is to prove that you're worthy. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. Yet the mind will make decisions based on that. It will lie to you. It will lie to others. And worse, you become so dependent. See, I try to train wolves, the generators, the not-self generators. These are the great sheep of the world. Blind sheep. And in their frustration, they're willing to try just about anything. And it never has anything to do with them. Took me about 10 years to teach people about the not self because I didn't want to scare them off. Because I've seen now that the not self keeps the generator away from their magic, their mind. Their mind robs them of their magic. Think about this theme of satisfaction. This is the goal of the generator, but what does it mean? See, when I think of the generator, because I'm somebody who has absolutely no activations in the sacral, when I think generator, I only feel power. Power. See, for me, generators are power beings. They have this incredible depth of fertility in their energy. I mean, it is incredible what one can feel because after all, if you have an open center, you amplify. I take in the generator frequency. I live in a house surrounded by generators. I have 3 generator children. I take in this deep, deep frequency, this power that is there. And you see, when the generator truly understands that this is what they're about, this energy, and only when that energy is used correctly will they ever know what satisfaction is. You see, a generator, when it does anything through response, think about what the mechanism really is. The mechanism isn't a mental thing. It is the sacral motor itself responding. It's the motor. What does a motor say? If we could anthropomorphize a motor, what can a motor say? It can say, I can handle this. You know, the little train that could. You know that children's film, I think I can, When the sacral responds, the energy is there, the power is there for whatever it is. Whether it's for a moment or for a lifetime. Whether it's a commitment to the moment or a commitment to the lifetime, it doesn't matter what it is. When that sacral goes, yes, that motor is saying, I can do this and more. What it's saying is that this is something that will use my energy correctly. One of the many things that I've taught generators is about how important it is for them to go to sleep when they're exhausted. You know, the worst thing for a generator is the false bedtime, I've got an early this or that, so I'm going to try to go to sleep early and all this stuff. This is not a psychological thing. It's about the motor. The motor. You see, for a generator, every use of energy is like the journey to orgasm. And only when you really understand it that way will you understand what that satisfaction means. When somebody says to a generator, can you do this? And they go, uh-huh. In that moment, they are committing their energy not simply to the thing, but they're committing to use that energy to its exhaustion. This is what makes them special. See, generators are not simply generators, they are regenerators. It's something my son Loki taught me about telephones and batteries. I was always keeping it on the charger. He said, well, the battery isn't going to last long that way. Make the battery go all the way out and then charge it again, and it really, This is the generator. You have to use your energy completely. It doesn't mean that every act is an act of exhaustion. Please understand. It means that you will give all the energy that your sacral can produce for that thing that you've said yes to, and when it's done, you're going to feel satisfied. And it's a deep satisfaction. Generators are here to be used well. You're a resource. You have this enormous power within you. And all it takes is the commitment of your energy to what is correct. And then I go back to the beginning and I think, Jesus, I told them enough. I traveled all over. I did my very best as a 5 to seduce the hell out of them and get them to see, try this, come on. The mind, I mean, what a pain in the ass the mind is. How it gets in the way of everything. See, for a generator, the moment that your mind has taken over, you are really lost. You are never going to use that energy correctly. You're not. So you're not going to have the satisfaction. You're not. You're going to get this sick patina of frustration that covers this whole planet. See, I understand people in certain ways. One way for all of us to understand the other is to understand the aura of any type. Because the moment that you really understand the way their aura works, you get a deep glimpse into who they are and what they can do. The generator has an enveloping aura. Not like me, the manifester, with my closed, cut-off aura. This big, enveloping aura that takes everything in. This is how life on this planet is maintained. This is the force. And when you meet a generator and they put this aura around you, it also means because they have an enveloping aura, they are deeply vulnerable to conditioning. Deeply. Because they open themselves up so wide and take it all in. See, when you came into the world and you were a generator child, your parents began to train you to be a manifester. This is the beginning of the end for generators. Nobody respected you. You were told what to do. You weren't asked. You were told that you've got to deal with things yourself, that your mind has got to decide what is right for you and wrong for you. That it is you that has to decide mentally what your world is going to be and where you're going to go and how you're going to do it. I used to sit with generators in a reading. And I was trying to get across to them that their sacral can make noises. It could communicate directly. And I'd be sitting there and I'm doing their design and I'd hit some button and I'd hear them go, And I'd stop. And I'd say, "Did you hear that?" And they'd look at me the way sheep look at you here when you show up with the headlights on. Hear what? You just made a sound. No, I didn't hear it. Okay, I go back, I do the reading. I get to another hot spot. They go, whatever. I said, yeah, did you catch it? Eventually I would say, look, when you hear the recording, the one making the funny noises is you. That's you. That's the one I'm going to trust. That's the one I'm going to believe. See, the nice thing about generators on the positive side is that they can be the most honest human beings that were ever put on this planet. Absolutely, purely, right there, truthful. It's like generator lovers. I mean, if you want to see an idyllic relationship, generator lovers. And one says to the other, "Do you love me?" And they go, "Uh-huh." And the other one says, "Well, do you love me?" And they go, "Uh-huh." Hey, that's love, baby. That's real. By the way, if one of them goes, "Uh-uh," then don't invest in that relationship. It is not going to work. You see, in the end, the dilemma we have is genetic. It's always genetic. The genes say, "I want that," because I don't have it. you know? So we get attracted to all of these things that we are not. It is why you end up with generators who are with projectors. I don't know which one of them is more insane in that relationship. I think they both have serious problems, but nonetheless, we're really here to be with our own kind. But that's difficult to get to, because your mind isn't interested in that. It isn't sexy enough for your mind, what your mind wants is what kills generators. Instead of discovering. Because you see, here is the blessing of the generator, is that life is truly going to give you your purpose. You don't have to find it. You don't have to look for it. You don't have to think about where it is or where it leads or what it's about. Because you cannot know. Nothing more boring than this homogenized world where everybody comes out of the same damn cookie cutter. That everybody's dreams seem to be the same. How sad. Because nobody knows what's possible. They just don't. They look at this very, very normal world, and they just have to fit in by not being themselves. And then they never get what's theirs. See, this knowledge is about liberating your uniqueness. That's what we're all here for. And for the generator, it is so simple. It's just movement. We're moving in a Maya, and the Maya's a duality, and you got to go this way or that. That's the game. The mind doesn't know, doesn't care. You know that already. The mind will mess up your life, and then it'll come back and say, gee, well, that didn't work. Let's try something else that'll mess up our lives. Your mind doesn't care. Doesn't care how much it hurts, doesn't care how much you suffer. As a matter of fact, the worse your life gets, the more your mind has fun. Because it has so many things to be tormented about and so many things to think about that it just keeps on going on and on and on until you're dead, which is actually something that you're grateful for when you finally get there. And fortunately, given the fact that it's fast, you can get over it in a hurry. Boy, that's not what it's about. But you see, because generators are born holy, they have to prove it. They have to embrace it and earn it. And you can only do that by giving up tomorrow. All generators. There are variations. I'll talk about the emotional after the break. But I really want you to grasp something about what it is to be a generator. Is that you are here to trust so deeply in the nature of being itself. It will provide. It's something so difficult for sophisticated, smart human beings to understand because they don't trust it. Those generator women that I sat with, thousands of them, and I'd say to them, you want love? And of course they do. And I'd say, well, wait for it to come to you. And they'd look at me like I'm crazy. What do you mean? Even worse, when they were emotional generators, and I'd say, hey, wait for them to come to you, and when they come, send them away. Prince Charming shows up and you send them away. What, are you nuts? Prince Charming shows up, I give him my room. Because they don't trust. Not only don't they trust, they don't think of themselves as being worthy. Who's going to love you if you don't love yourself? Who are you going to love if you can't love yourself? Because if you don't love yourself, what is love? Think about what lovers normally ask each other who are unaware. Why do you love me? And why would you ask such a stupid question? I mean, what a dumb thing, eh? What is it about me that you love? Because I don't know that thing in myself. I mean, I'm really surprised that somebody loves me. What is that thing that you love? And of course, the joke is that the other person is also not self. You know? They don't know what the hell is going on. This is just the measurement game. This is just becomes the ugly, ugly, ugly Maya story. I love you this much. Why don't you love me as much? See, if you're going to live your life and you're going to be frustrated, then you're going to end up expecting somebody else to get rid of your frustration. And when your frustration doesn't go away, you've got lots and lots and lots of things to blame. Oh, generators are the masters of the blame game. They're the great quitters in this life. See, it goes back to being an energy being. This is what you are. You're the pure force of life on this planet. I mean, you've got to grasp that. If you don't grasp that, you don't understand what you're here for. You are the force. I mean, manifestors, projectors, reflectors, we are parasites. And I don't mean that in any kind of nasty way. You know? I surround myself with generators. Keeps me alive. You know, this is the life force. No escaping it. But think about what this life force is in reality, in this world, now. These enveloping auras. 4.5 billion generators on the planet. I mean, 4.5 billion generators. Well, you know, half of this planet is deeply deprived and unhappy. This is the generator's world. This is the world that we all live in. I walk in this ocean of generator conditioning. It's everywhere. All these generators running around, doing things, deciding with their mind, making up their life story as they go along, putting out nothing but wave after wave after wave after wave after wave of frustration. You can smell it. See, when I take a generator into my body and I take that sacral frequency, sometimes it is so uncomfortable I can't stand it. It is literally such a disturbing frequency. It's like this magnificent motor that's never been tuned. Never. Instead of purring like a Ferrari, you know? Sounds like an Ibiza truck on a bad day. It's physical. See, for me, the whole generator world is a physical world. It's something that you can feel. I feel it. It's like a curtain around me. I mean, in my house, I have a generator-free zone. I do. I have a generator-free zone, you know? It's a place where I can go and save my sacral, you know? And it doesn't matter whether they're nice generators or they're my children or it doesn't matter what the hell it is, you know? This frequency, how powerful it is. And then you begin to think about what it means when this frequency is distorted. I think the most difficult thing for generators, because they have an enveloping aura, is that human design is so personal and is so much about them and nobody else. You know, this knowledge works one person at a time. It's my journey. You know, I walk along my way and I deliver my message and I just, after that walk on. Because you don't know. Because there's nothing that I can do. You know, this is not a place where you take somebody by the hand and you guide them along. That era is over. I am not in the sheep business. I train wolves. I train people to be abnormal. This is my job. Not to be a sheep. Not to function in the way in which we have always functioned, which has brought us nothing but the misery we have on this plane. And I tell you, it pisses me off with generators because it's so damn simple. I think one of the confusions is that people really don't understand what human design is. Because there is so much information. And I don't think they get it. It's just about decision-making. This is what this knowledge is about. It isn't about anything else. It's about knowing how to make a decision as yourself. Your mind makes not self-decisions. This is not your inner authority. The only thing mind is good for is what I'm doing right now, outer authority. Each of us has a right to be a source of unique outer authority. That is our potential. See, what human design does is it says, look, we live on a material plane. We are the embodiment of the form principle. We have a form principle intelligence. Let's let the form principle intelligence run the vehicle. You know, it's the first thing you notice when you look at a human design chart. You see there are two calculations. It's about understanding that these two calculations represent two different kinds of cognitive potential. The cognitive potential of the personality, which manifests as mind, and the cognitive potential of the vehicle that runs these things. I mean, I worship at this temple. This is an incredible thing, this machine. I mean, very, very few human beings even have a tiny, tiny grasp of what it takes to keep one of these things functioning. The millions of things that are going on in this body at any given moment. And the illusion that human beings have that their mind runs their life when the mind is totally dependent on the brain. What are you going to do if I whack you in the head with a hammer? You think you're going to philosophize with me after that? I stick a couple of needles up your nose and give you a frontal lobotomy? You think you're going to have a great conversation with me? You sure look like Buddha state though, but the mind is a byproduct of the brain. It's sort of like gas. And you see the brain and how the brain functions, how the neurotransmitters are going to work, the way your lymphatic system is going to operate, the way your glands, your organs, your eyes, your nose, your life, everything. This is the thing. You see, I met all these people along my way in the New Age, and they have all kinds of nice, interesting, cutesy kind of stuff, you know, that they've inherited over generations and generations. And then I try to explain to them that the personality is a passenger that just takes a ride in the vehicle. And they nod their head. Sounds cute. And then they keep on making up their lives with their minds, as if the passenger could possibly drive the vehicle or know anything about the vehicle. Imagine what it would be like if you were like a dolphin and you'd have to remember to breathe. Because dolphins have to remember to breathe. Think about what it would be like if you had to remember how to breathe, how to use your muscles, how to walk, how to talk, how to eat. that you had to spend all your time thinking about how to make all of that work. See, it's time that we begin to respect this intelligence that runs these vehicles. And you see, the vehicle is here. This material form is here to be complete on this material plane. The mind is secondary. It's secondary. It's the pleasure of watching the movie. Oh, my mind loves to watch the movie. It's delicious. I can remember when I tried to write the script, and I was in one of these bad horror movies, it was not nice. See, it is the mind robs us of the one chance we have. We are living in extraordinary times. We have the mechanics. We understand how the vehicle works. We understand how this works. Mechanical strategies work. They do. And what does it mean? On this form plane, we are all moving. Moving. It doesn't matter whether our minds can't grasp that. We are moving in space, and everything is about direction. Human design is full of the language of geometries, trajectories, fractals. We move along lines of geometry. And in that movement, our vehicles know where to go. Our vehicular intelligence knows where to go. It's the onboard computer, the onboard navigator. See, what we do is we interfere with perfection. We just get in the way of it. Because we think somehow that these minds really do, in fact, control these lives. And they don't. And you never get to see the wonder. The wonder. See, because when we're brought up in this life, we're given a whole set of expectations that are guaranteed to fail. And as generators, those goals that are there in front of us and the dreams that are there in front of you, that the frustration just begins to develop. You take on all these layers of conditioning, start living out a life that's not you, where frustration is normal, where what you feel as a not self-incorrect generator is considered normal. It's a horror. Nothing is going to change on this planet until generators change. I can rant and rave till the end of my days, and I will. But this world will be changed by generators, no one else, one by one. The magic of that aura, the magic of that enveloping aura, when a generator is correct, that aura has an enormous impact. Well, the other side of that impact when they're incorrect. And it still goes back to the same thing. See, generators have to have, in a sense, more courage than anybody else, because if you don't surrender, you can't be a generator. And every messenger, guru, teacher, has all tried to bring humanity to a recognition of what surrender is. But of course, it was always very difficult because they never had any mechanics. They didn't really know how it worked. They just had an insight. See, generators are designed to be surrendered beings. In the deepest sense of that word, no one else, in fact, is designed to be surrendered but generators. This is what you're here for. You're the ones that are supposed to teach everyone else by your example. It is the very way in which you live your lives that influences the world around you more profoundly than you can imagine. You walk into the supermarket as a correct generator. What your aura is able to do to others. And it doesn't mean it's, in the moment and, You're a life force. You are perfect. This is the magic of being a generator. Like insects. No tomorrow. That's the mantra of the insect. No tomorrow. No tomorrow. No tomorrow. Let's see what comes. Nothing else. See, then you begin to see the beauty. You do. It really works. There are people who have been there, done that, know it. But boy, what a trip to shed all that crap that you've been given from the start to begin to see who you are. This knowledge is not for adults. What a drag in my life to have to teach adults. Wow. I mean it. Deeply conditioned, fucked up, layers and layers of shit in your head. It's so amazing that any of you are here. Really, I'm impressed. It's for children. So they don't have to be messed up. So they don't have to wait until they're 40 years old to discover, oh, gee, something seems to be wrong here. Maybe I should do something about that. What should I do? Hard to change your life late in life. Hard to give up the habits. I know. You have to be deeply dedicated as a generator, as an adult, to really make that jump. See, as much as I thought it was easy, I know it's not. See, as a manifester, to be alone is the easiest thing in the world for me. I am always alone. You cannot get into my aura. You cannot. I have no problem with aloneness. I'm a lonely. It's aloneness. Generators are not here for aloneness. They are here to take everyone and everything in. They do it without choice. They do it without thinking. It is their nature. It is their aura. And you see, in this knowledge, if you cannot stand alone, you're lost. It is only for you. It is not for anyone else. There is no one else who can discover who you are. No one. And there is no one who is going to understand where you are going, because you don't understand either. It's what's so beautiful about being a generator. There's this cosmic innocence that's built into it. Truly, you're holy ones. I don't make that up, and people who know me know I don't use those words lightly. You're here to be that perfect example of life. Not like us parasites that have to hook in all the time and hold on and, all us non-sacral beings. But then we end up being dependent on the world that you make for us. And we're not happy with it. And of course, the dilemma is that human design is not messianic. Out of 7 billion people on the planet, there's about 30 million that could grasp the possibility of what this knowledge represents, approximately. A percentage, by the way, that's never changed in the whole history of humanity. It's always the same fractal. It's always the same geometry. It's always the same old karma. It's like those people who have come up to me every once in a while and said, I've been waiting all my life for this. Well, nice. Yes, I know. There are some of us who have been. But you see, you can't wait for anybody else to do this for you. You can't. It either gets to you and you experiment and you begin the process or not. You know, I used to do these public introductory lectures. I was mentioning it the other day. I stopped a number of years ago in Vienna when I decided that it would be really a lot of fun to have a sword and cut off the heads of those people in the audience who I knew didn't belong there in the first place. And I realized that I liked the idea so much that I thought it was time for me to stop doing that. And you know, it's this thing I feel about generators after 20 years. You know? Because if you're not ready to become yourself, go elsewhere. Be not self. Join the rest of the zoo. You know, for me, none of this is personal. It's just about correctness. We live in a window in which knowledge has been given to us at the end of our time. This is not a place where anything is beginning. Don't you believe it for a moment. This is a time where everything is ending. It's why we have knowledge like this. It's why we can understand that the great homogenized world is going to move on and past us. That most of humanity will never, ever, ever have an opportunity to understand what it is to be here and how beautiful it can be. This is not the planet of suffering. This is something I know. You know, this is our moment, us humans. This is our time to see the glory of what it is to be just alive by our own authority. Your authority. Generators have a deep habit of giving up their authority to everyone and everything. It's what they do. They give away their lives by giving other people power over their life. And whether that is spiritual, philosophical, whether it's governments, parents, children, it doesn't matter what the combinations are. We are not here. We are not here to live by anybody else's authority. You see, if you're a normal person, your life is ruled by many, many forces. And you bow your head to all of those authorities and you never live your life. Never, never. You see, when you find your inner authority as a generator, when you trust response, to understand what that truly brings you in this life, it breaks the covenant with all of those forces that have distorted your life. It gives no one the right to judge you. It gives no one power over you. You get your life on your terms, your way. I bow down to nothing. Nothing. Long ago, I broke my covenant with gods and all of these things. I run the show. My authority. And when I say my authority, I'm not talking about the way I think. I'm talking about this thing, my spleen, that runs my business. I long ago gave up being concerned about how my life works. I get up in the morning. I seem to be alive. The rest is just watching. There is nothing else to do. See, I wait for that magic of the awakening of generator power, real power. The power that comes to beings who use their energy correctly. You get more and more and more and more powerful. There's this enormous resource in a generator. The fact of the matter is, generators don't even need to sleep. Sleep, by the way, is a luxury for us non-sacral beings. Thank God we get a break. That is, if you sleep in your own bed, you know. Generators? Wow. See, they're the only ones that actually have the power to get away from the program. See, human beings, in my Night Forces teaching, talking about dream rape, the program is designed recognizing that we're useless and incompetent, so they program us deeply while we're asleep. Generators actually have the capacity to bypass all that. I mean, the ideal of the generator, this perfect use of energy. See, that's what you're here for. You're energy beings. You are the energy beings. And so what you begin to see is that, when somebody comes up to you and says, oh, I really like you, and I would like you to come with me, would you? What you're really hearing from your vehicle, one way or the other, is whether you have the energy for it. That's all. Because it's all about your energy. See, there may be somebody and your mind looks at this person and says, oh, they'd be this and that, and this would be great, and that would be great. And what your sacral is saying to you is, no. We cannot handle this. This is not right for us. We are not going to be able to use our energy well. We will get no satisfaction. Thought that was cute. Mick Jagger, who's a projector, singing Can't Get No Satisfaction. He must have been raised by generators. No satisfaction. Because you don't use your energy correctly. I mean, this is what generators are here for. This perfect usage of energy. And the most important thing in a generator's life is, no, baby. No. Big no. Big no. Teaches your mind really good lessons. Because you see, the mind doesn't care. The mind will think, this is really not a great idea, but shit, let's try it. It's the mind. It always sort of, yeah, but if we don't do it, then they're going to be upset. And, we might as well, and we'll get out of it later, and, and this and that, and blah, blah, blah. Instead of, no. See, if you're a generator, 30% of the world is trying to live off your energy. All those people who are non-sacral. I mean, if you don't know how to use your energy, you're going to be very, very, very useless. You're going to have your energy stripped from you. You're going to have your frustration multiplied. And how do you think people get you to misuse your energy? They tap into your not-self mind. Mind trip. See, it's not about no mind. It's very important to understand that mind is a very beautiful thing. When it's your outer authority, I would like to think that I could be interested in what each of you would have to say to me in a conversation. It'd be nice to think that. I don't expect it. I don't expect it because human beings do not display unique cognitive expression. They don't. People talk in homogenized cliches. They just do. They don't really express their unique truth. You can tell. And yet this is the potential of mind, which is so beautiful, but mind like this does not emerge when mind is busy bean counting. What I'm going to do today and what I did yesterday and what am I going to do with this person and that thing and boom, boom, boom. There's no mind there. There's no beauty in that mind. This is a confused passenger. And they don't know what to do. So they try to look for some other confused mind to lead them. The blind leading the blind, as it were. Maybe I should just start smacking you. I mean, that might work. I don't know, but there's certain things one could give a try to, you know? Okay, let's have a break. There are different kinds of generators, obviously. There is an enormous difference between what we refer to as the pure generator and the manifesting generator. Manifesting generators are approximately half of the generator population. From my own perspective over all of these years of working with all kinds of generators, I think that the greatest conditioning and the most difficult design to be able to realize is that of a manifesting generator. It is, they are so easily trapped in the manifesting game. It's so obvious. It's so obvious because they do have... Yes. Well. Zip. Manifesting generators are so fast, they skip things and forget. And you're negatively influencing me, all of you. Tough. Don't like it? Anyway. Manifesting generators have a hard time. They have a hard time because, of course, when their parents want them to be manifestors, they can perform. They can. I mean, the thing that's so incredible to me about the manifesting generator is that I thought I was fast. You know? I thought I had stamina. I mean, a manifesting generator slave, they are the most delicious slaves. I mean, they will keep going when everybody else is dead. I mean, they'll honor a dead master. They'll keep going on and on and on and on. I don't want to be cruel to them. Some of my best friends are manifesting generators. What to do? See, for a generator to deal with the dilemma of response is one thing. That's a big step. For a manifesting generator to think that it's a generator is a big step. Because manifesting generators don't think they're generators. They don't like generators. You know, if you want to see a dilemma within a group, parts of a tribe that don't like each other, there's a line in the generator family between the manifesting generators and the generators. You see, because as not self, the manifesting generators always look like they've got a better deal. You hire a generator and a manifesting generator for the same job. The manifesting generator is going to look like they get it faster. It looks like they're racing ahead. It looks like they've really got the job down pat. So the boss fires the generator, only to discover a month later that the manifesting generator was very fast because it missed so many things. It just looked fast. But if you looked into what was actually going on, there's all these huge gaps, Excuse me, you missed that step. Oh, if you want to get a manifesting generator mad, all you have to say to them is, excuse me, you missed that. You've got to go back 3 steps. Oh, did they get pissed? I am not going back. I'd rather quit. I didn't miss anything. I did what I had to do. Manifesting generators. And they don't want to be generators. You say to a manifesting generator, look, you have to wait. No. Why should I? I can do things. Yeah, we know you can. What a mess. It's very difficult for them. See, because the whole world is raised on manifester propaganda. Manifesting generators feel right at home in all that. And of course, the moment that you're not self and your mind is in charge, the things that it gets you to do. Now, there's many kinds of manifesting generators. To really understand them is to understand the archetype. There is only one true kind of manifesting generator. That's the 2034, channel of charisma. This is the true manifesting generator. This is the only direct connection between the sacral and the throat. All other manifesting generators are generators with manifesting potential. The 2034 is a real, live, honest-to-goodness manifesting generator. And you see, they're very easy to understand from that perspective. That the only thing that matters to them in life is that if they can stay busy, then they'll survive this life. That's what they care about. This is what all manifesting generators care about. Life is about being busy. By the way, they look very impressive from a distance. You know? They always look like they're doing something. Whether whatever they're doing is any good, or any good for them, or mattered in the first place at all, is not the point. But shit, do they ever look good? You know, there they are involved, doing their thing, and everybody's saying, gee, I wish I could be like that. Look how involved they are. You see, when you see the 2034, you really understand them. It's like integration without the 10, don't know how to behave. And without the 57, you know, don't have the intuition to look after themselves. So they're busy for everything, everybody, anything. And if there's nothing to be busy about, they invent something. Whatever it is. As long as there's something I can be doing, it's okay. I'll go to sleep tonight, you know? But oh boy, if you tie me down in the middle of the day and there is nothing to do and suddenly my mind fills up, it's like, oh my God, I'll do anything to escape that. Busy, 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 busy bees. And of course, we love these busy bees. They're doing all kinds of stuff we would never do. Never. They're running around, feeling really productive because they're busy. Yeah. It's the misuse of energy. It's everything about understanding the sacral. See, if your sacral was money, you wouldn't fuck around with it the way you do. You know? I mean, if it was really money, you know, and somebody said to you, look, you've got to take some of that money out of your sacral and give it to me. And as soon as it was in denominations, you know, numbers, you know, you'd start thinking about it. Well, I don't really know if I want to give you that much energy. What exactly am I going to get out of this? Yeah, it's energy. The most horrendous thing for generators are their relationships. You see, because you end up giving energy to them. Enveloping aura, you know, give them the energy. But you may never have entered into that relationship correctly in the first place. It was never your sacral that said to you, this is the one for me. You were a manifesting generator. You said, oh, I like that one over there. I want it. And then you do what you can to get it by being busy. You know? Looks very impressive. You're busy getting their attention. You're busy trapping them. You're busy holding on to them. Busy, 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 busy. Empty relationship. So empty, it's unbelievable, because the moment you stop being busy with them, you realize you're relieved. Was that ever a dream? Because you see, the manifesting generator is just busy. So if it isn't busy about the right thing, whatever there's there is empty. And you see, they don't just get frustrated. Because they think they're manifestors, they get angry too. Not a nice vibe. And then they get busy working off their anger. And they get busy working off their frustration. Don't bother me now, I'm busy getting rid of my anger, you know? Busy, busy, busy bees. See, this is my whole thing with generators. They don't get it. You know, this incredible resource that they have, this power that they have, it's so perfect. And they throw it away all the time. And mostly because of the other. It's the other. See, look, if you do not operate correctly, you do not value yourself. You just don't. If you do not value yourself and you do not love yourself, if you cannot stand alone in your own authority, then every single bond that you have is incorrect for you. No matter how you rationalize it, no matter what excuses you place on it according to the way you're conditioned, doesn't matter. See, this knowledge is about discernment. Each and every one of us has the ability to discern what is correct for us. We do not have to be fooled. We do not have to waste our energy. We do not have to waste our lives. What a bore to waste such a beautiful trip. Simply because you took all of your energy and you put it somewhere where it didn't belong. And then you're disappointed at what happened. You know what to do, eh? It is this resource, this power. You know, I used to tell the story of the sheriff and the gunslinger. You know, the gunslinger was the manifester and the sheriff, this is the generator. Everybody's afraid of the gunslinger, you know? And the gunslinger is coming to town, and the sheriff is sitting there, and people keep on coming up to the sheriff and saying, look, go out and get the killer, you know? And when the sheriff doesn't do that, they tell the sheriff that he's a coward, that he's going to lose his job, his girlfriend thinks he's a wussy, you know, the priest thinks that he's useless, you know, all of these things. But you see, the generator has a power that nobody can see until the moment of response. You know, growing up with television in the 50s, you know, a zillion cowboy shows in North America. Always the same scene, right? Gunslinger comes in dressed in black, you know. Everybody's afraid, man. You never know when they're going to pull out their gun and just shoot you, right? And there's the generator sheriff that's sitting in the chair and nobody has any respect for this man. He's been abandoned by everyone. And you see, when the gunslinger comes into the street and calls out the sheriff responds. And when you look at those movies, the bad guy always takes out his gun first. Always. And the sheriff shoots him dead. And then everybody thinks the sheriff's terrific. Where did you find the courage? We didn't know you had it in you. To be a hero, to be this, to be that, whatever. Everybody only wanted the sheriff to be another manifester, to be another gunslinger, go out there and get it, go out there and do it, not wait for it. See, the manifesting generator, more than any other generator, has to understand that the power that they have can only be of value in response. There is no other way. None. And it is a great challenge to give up trying to run your life. Because we're afraid. We're afraid of losing what we have that we don't think is of value in the first place. Funny enough. But we're afraid. You know, better the enemy you know than the enemy you don't. You know, we're afraid. Not everybody in the middle of their life is ready to drop the life that they've lived. Takes courage. It's quite a thing. See, manifesting generators get deeply, deeply, deeply absorbed in the busyness of their life. There are so many things for them to do, so many things for them to do. To break that, to see that there's only truly certain things for them that are right. It is the discovery of what you are. You don't know who you are as a generator until your sacral is identifying you. It makes you who you are. It opens up all the possibilities that are you. Understand something about any strategy in human design. That what it does for you in terms of your vehicle is that it gives you access to the cognitive potential that is there to guide you. Your true intelligence. The intelligence to move this form along in this plane. And it's moving you towards what is your purpose. And purpose is not something that you can chase, that you can even know what it is. It's like people who run around and think that they understand who they are because they know the name of their incarnation cross. Give me a break. See, when you're ready to understand what that means, you will already be it. Because that's what purpose is. It is the realization of who you are not, who you are not. And to give up the not self. To take away from the box the power that it holds over you. You know, it's like babies with these sousas, you know? You know, the mind running your life, coming up with ideas that you think are terrific. You know, all these thoughts. The deeper you go into this knowledge, the more you understand that the mind is simply an expression of your openness, nothing else. Your mind is an expression of the results of conditioning, nothing else. That your mind, because it is expressly conditioned by everyone else, knows nothing about you. Every mind of every being that can be correct goes through a process of, oh, really, is that us? So this is what it can be. Manifesting generators have a great dilemma. You know, that dilemma is that there is this extraordinary power. It's there. Their whole system of using their energy is different. You know, a generator goes to sleep, pure generator, when it's exhausted. A manifesting generator has to get into sleep before exhaustion and then make itself exhausted before it goes to sleep. Read a book, watch TV, whatever it is. Ways in which they move the energy to that point of completion so that they can regenerate while they sleep and wake up with renewed power. See, if you don't use your energy correctly as a generator, you do not regenerate correctly in sleep. It leads to back problems, kidney problems. It leads to problems of alertness during the day, energy levels, all kinds of things. Because it goes back to the very basis of what it is to be a generator. You are a pure energy source. If you don't use your energy properly, you're going to suffer. And the suffering comes in many, many ways. And the trap is because you can be busy, you can ignore it as not self. You just get caught up in your busyness and you try to get as far away from whatever it is as you can. But like all things, there's no escape in the end. There isn't. If you are a generator and you're not correct, this life always holds emptiness for you. You all know it. You know, it's not something that you want to live. And it's something that's very easy to move away. It really is. It is the commitment to understanding. Make your decisions in response. If there is no one to ask you, there is no decision to be made. Understand that. You know, decisions are not something that's up to your mind. It is going to lead you astray. It's going to take you away from your life. And I know how that sounds. Oh, yeah, I'm going to wait to be asked, blah, blah, blah. But you see, you cannot be half pregnant in this game. You're either waiting or you're not waiting. You can't wait sometimes. It's not about that. You see, it's about geometries, fractal lines, movement in space. When you're correct, you begin to interact with forces that are correct for you. I was on tour in America, and sometime, I don't know, 98, I think, and I was in Wyoming, of all places, in one of these horrendous places for the super rich, looked like Siberia was Starbucks. Very strange place. And anyway, I was staying at this generator's house, and she was quite enamored of having me in her house. And she was very interested, obviously, in being able, at one level or another, to take advantage of that. Have conversations, talk about her design, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And each morning, as I would wake up and come into the main room of the house, she would be there, and she would immediately start a conversation with me. And so I ignored her. And this went on for days. And boy, was she ever getting annoyed, eh? I mean, downright angry. She was already telling people that it was a horrendous mistake to have me in her house, that I was a terribly rude man, that I was totally unresponsive to her, and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, the second to last day that I'm staying there, I get up in the morning, I come into the kitchen, she's there, and she is as stone cold and icy as you can imagine, right? Showing me the shoulder, the whole business, right? And in my sweetest manifestor voice, I said, "Good morning," and she was so angry. And she turned around with that look in her eye, and I said to her, I don't answer you when you start. This is not working. I'm a manifester. If you talk to me and I don't want you to talk to me, I am not going to pay any attention to you. The hell do I care that you have something to say? It's going to be a lie anyway. It's going to be full of all kinds of nonsense. I mean, if I want to communicate with you, I'll say hello. How are you today? And then you can tell me that you don't like me. That's okay. But I'll believe your answer. You see, for a generator to grasp what it means, if you'll make a decision in response, it's real. It's real. It's honest. It's true. And because generators are so dependent on others in their life, if you cannot make a clear decision about the other, you're just taking in their aura, absorbing them, taking in the conditioning, being dragged away from what is right for you. And you got to get rid of the fear that nobody's going to ask you. It's in the aura. Any generator can experiment with this. You're out with some people and you're sitting like typical Ibiza life. You got a cafe, you sit down. As an experiment, don't say anything. Just to see what happens. Immediately, everybody notices. Instantly notices, because you've got an enveloping aura. Well, what do you think they will say to you? They will bring you in. You have to let them. And then you get to see who's there for you and who isn't. You see, if they don't ask you, they're not for you. They will never be for you. They will never see you. They will never respect you. They will never care about you. They will use you as slaves all your life, or as long as they can. Because the only reason that you would be in that relationship is that your mind told you it was okay. Your mind doesn't go to bed with people. You know? Your mind has no idea what it's getting involved in and doesn't care. It'll try anything, any this or that, within reason, depending on the way you are and how you're raised. It doesn't care about you. Doesn't. I mean, the only thing in this life that you're ever going to be able to trust is that response within you, because it is never going to lie. It is never going to make a mistake. Never. And by the way, that doesn't mean that everything turns out rosy. It's not the way life is. But whatever you have to deal with in this life, you can deal with, because you entered into it correctly, whether it's a relationship or a job or this or that, it doesn't matter. It takes courage to force the world to come to your door. Because this is what it is to be a generator. You demand respect. And you'll get it. You'll get it. It will come. It may surprise you. Well, that's okay too. It's not always what you think it should be. The mind, caught up in the conditioning, thinks that the ideal is this or that or the other thing, when in fact, your vehicle, your sacral, is only going to tell you what is correct for you. Different story. And only when you're living out that response do you begin to feel this satisfaction. How good it is to be a power being. How clean that energy can be. How good it feels at the end of each day. I mean, this is the magic of generator. And until that motor is the controlling mechanism in their life, you know what to say. You know, they're part of the normal world and all the problems that go with it. You know, as I said, the knowledge is for children. It's very difficult for adults. It's difficult for manifesting generators. I know, I've watched them. And yet this is not about improbable or impossible, but it's about you alone, because nobody else can do it. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's what you have to grasp. To be abnormal is often something that is very, very socially difficult. It can be uncomfortable. It means you operate differently from other people, that you have different criteria, that you have a different truth. They may not agree with it. You know, you have to be able to stand in that as a generator, because it's so easy to get caught in being manipulated. The not-self generator is so open to being manipulated. But you see, if you stay in that response, nobody, no God, no goddess, no demon or angel, no being on this planet can move you in any direction that is incorrect. This knowledge is about your authority. And that authority has to be 100%. It's not about anybody else's. I don't care what their relationship is to you. It is about you and you alone. Because only when you stand on that authority can you embrace this life and can you embrace the other. Only then can you have the beings in your life that you deserve, that are waiting for you. I can't leave off talking about generators without saying something about the solar plex system. I mean, if you really want to know about the solar plex system, join a Locke's course. I'm a very unemotional being. I have one gate in the emotional system, and it's unconscious. I have lived a life in which I have gone through the highs and the lows of what it is to take in the emotional frequency. I have loved it, and I have hated it deeply. I had a final solution. I was going to kill all the emotional people and free myself. I just didn't know how to do it, so I gave up on that one. The emotional system is really what life is about, in the way in which we experience it. Where the sacral is the life force, emotions give us our drama. It's the drama that enriches the movie. As a matter of fact, the movie would be quite boring without the solar plex center to sort of juice it up, It's where we get our drama. And of course, the dilemma of the emotional system is that the moment that the emotional system is in place, you have the great law. No truth in the now. Great law. No truth in the now. Now, half of humanity is emotional. This is not a planet where everybody just gets it, right? You understand? No truth in the now. This means that it is not possible to make any kind of existential commitment to anything. Anything. So you're an emotional generator, and you're waiting for Prince Charming. Waiting and waiting and waiting, as is the way of generators. And then out of the blue, Prince Charming shows up. Wow, this works, And then you're an emotional being. No truth in the now. Prince Charming may be a frog. Prince Charmings often turn out to be frogs. Rarely do frogs turn into Prince Charming. I want to tell you, it is normally the other way around, right? And if you're an emotional being, you can't tell the difference between the frog and the prince anyway. I mean, you start off thinking they're a prince, and you wake up in the morning and they're a frog already. And then you're really in trouble because you don't want to be with a frog. You don't. This is the emotional being, the wave. And you see, it's so easy to be able to think, oh, gee, I wouldn't like to have that as my design, But then again, we all have our problems, don't we? And you see, to be an emotional being for me is so incredible, because I see it from another perspective. See, I'm a splenic person. It actually means that I'm incredibly ignorant. No joke. Because you see, I only know what I know in the moment. That's it. I mean, I'm a splenic person. That is my authority. And in the moment that my spleen, guides me, is the moment that our relationship is over. It's not like I can go to the spleen and hold a conversation. Why did you do that? And it's instantaneous. So I never know why I say yes or no to anything. Honestly, I really don't. I have no idea. None whatsoever. Somebody says something to me and I hear myself say this or that. This is my spleen at work. And sometimes I say yes and I think, maybe we should re-examine this. It's too late. And it's not like I can go to my spleen and say, well, what was that about? I'd like to understand your reasoning on this one, because mentally I think this is a terrible thing to get into, right? But it's the spleen. So I sort of feel very ignorant, because if anybody ever asks me why I do anything, I honestly don't know. I don't. Okay. So then you have an emotional person. Now, boy, are they ever different from me. They're so different, it's unbelievable. Because they go through this wave. And all along the wave, they're taking a different perspective. I remember a wonderful, weird friend of mine who's off in the Orient. And I remember teaching him human design. Emotional guy, very emotional guy. And he had a very intense private thing with me. I think Randy was there too. And the next day, I get this phone call from him. And he says to me, I don't understand. The day before, he was right there. You know, he got every single bit of it. It was right there. I was right on his wave. He got it. You know, the next morning he wakes up someplace else on his wave. And that place in his wave, the only thing that belongs there, I guess, are burgers and motorcycles. I don't know. And he wakes up in that place in his wave and it's like, what did he say? No truth in the now? No truth in the now? It just moves. But emotional beings are deeper than anybody else as a result. If they give their wave a chance. Time. Oh, how everything is about time in this life. You see, the great dilemma of an emotional generator is that they think that they're going to miss something if they're waiting. And more than that, to be an emotional being is to understand that your first response is always, I don't know yet. Your first response is always, wait. Wait. And of course, this is so difficult to begin with for a generator to accept response to start with. To be an emotional generator and accept that anybody that comes to you in a moment where you either have a positive or negative response, in that moment, it doesn't mean a damn thing. Nothing. And if you act on it, you're an idiot. Because there is no completion, no truth, no fulfillment in that. You don't have the whole picture. So you have that person that says to you, I would like to do this and this with you. Would you like to? Your inner response to that is, no, I really wouldn't. But that's not the answer. The answer is, I'll let you know. The answer is, get out of my face now, basically. Get out of my aura. I'll process it. You come back later and check it out. It's their responsibility. It's so hard for human beings to reject human beings. And it's really tough when your response is yes, yes, I think you're a prince or a princess, yes. And you don't wait to see if they turn into a frog, because if you wait, you'll see. And maybe they do turn into a frog, but maybe it's not a bad frog. You know, maybe it's a survivable frog that you can put up with for a bit, as long as they get back to their princiness, you know. But at least you know what you're getting. And you get to analyze it. You get to take it in. You get to feel it. See, if you're an emotional being, everything is about your feelings. Your truth, your authority is your feeling. And no feeling in the moment is real. It's a sample over time. Emotional beings are samplers. You're here to sample beings. You take them in slowly, like you're sipping good wine. You check it out. And slowly, as you take them in over time, boy, do you ever know them. See, I don't know anybody. I really don't. I don't. I got a closed aura, and I'm a splenic manifester. You know, if somebody steps in my face, there's a part of me that says I like them or I don't like them. I know nothing else. I don't know why I like them or I don't like them. I don't know how long I'm going to like them or not like them. I have no idea. None. Things just come and go in this life for me. It's just the way it is. It's all in the moment. But if you're an emotional being, you have all this depth. You know, if you know me long enough as an emotional being, you know why you don't like me or like me. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you really know. You've been there, done that, went through the whole arc, saw all the movies, all the different perspectives. And then you have clarity. You never have truth. No emotional being ever has truth. Not 100%, ever, ever. Not even 99.9, you know? If you're lucky, you're in the 70 to 80 range, you know? It's just clarity. Emotional clarity. See, the emotional system is there to drive us on the material plane, to drive us through this life. If you look at the experiential way the fates sit there, you know, this is what life is about. And emotional blindness is a horrendous thing. Our world suffers deeply from emotional beings who make decisions in the moment. In the moment. As if there's any truth in that moment when they're high as a kite and they say yes. As if that yes is love or friendship or anything. Or when they're down low and they say no, as if that really is their truth. It is not. It is a sample of their perspective in the moment. Nothing else. Nothing else. And you see, if you wait, there is such wisdom in emotional beings waiting to be expressed. The kind of wisdom that has no words. None. You can feel it from them. You can feel it. See, an emotional system that's clean. I know. I've felt them. They're very beautiful. I mean, the emotions are so sexy. It's where pleasure is. It's where all these wonderful things are. It's attractive. But if the emotional being that is carrying that attractive wave is not correct, you know what's going to happen. And not just to them, the other 50% who are open beings. What I have known in my life, the partners that I've had who are emotional, my mother, my sisters, I've watched this movie, what it does. And to be ignorant of it. And yet, what a beautiful thing. I mean, the solar plexus is really profound. But again, like all these things, it is a battle that rests within each and every one of you, because you have to know this yourself. You have to know it, and you have to live your mechanic. If you are an emotional generator, your response over time will bring you the clarity you need. And don't think you're missing anything while you're getting your data. You're not. You're not. You're not missing anything at all. You're going to get what's correct for you. And ultimately, when you make a decision based on that clarity, it is going to be right for you. It's your wisdom to be clear. We all have to depend on the emotional world. It's the emotional world that carries all the experience. It carries all the details of the movement. Only emotional beings have the potential to be true masters on this plane. And we need to be led by their clarity instead of being distorted by it. And obviously, emotional generators, incorrect. They are the deep distortion on this plane. Non-surrendered, trying to be existential. So we have a world of highs and lows, and a world of frustration and the lack of fulfillment in the potential of each human being. And this is the life force that we so hold on to keep us going. It would be nice to see that all go away. But one being at a time, eh? In this era of human design where we have the most incredible growth, I know now that there will always be enough beings that are attracted to this knowledge. And there will always be those that are ready to make that jump. There will be others that will teach their children and their grandchildren. It is what it's all about, to give each person the right. It's just the right. If you don't take the opportunity, what to do? And this is not about belief. It never has been. It's only about mechanics. As an emotional generator, yes, it takes a great deal of courage to start on that journey. But oh boy, are you going to get your rewards? Because you will. The wisdom that comes with the patience, the discernment that brings the right forces and movement into your life,
the satisfaction that you can derive from that, and leaving behind the burden of carrying frustration in your life, and what you will mean to all those around you, to envelop people in an aura that is healthy and whole, that is correct in the way it operates, that changes the way in which we understand the emotional system, that we can derive from it, as those of us on the outside, the beauty that it brings to our life, the dynamic that it brings, the pleasure that it brings. But one by one, it's the only way. Okay, folks, that's it.